and welcome to another video. Now, I've already reviewed this Segway ZT3 Pro, but that was a year ago. Exactly a year ago, last January of 2025. But it is now January 2026, and I have more than 1,000 miles on this device. And the reason I'm making this video is to share with you how well it has put up with all 1,000 miles. Now, I definitely have a few complaints, a few interesting things I've found about this scooter, and a lot of knowledge I'd like to share in this video. If you're just interested about this scooter in general, I have a full in-depth review, and I'll leave a link to that in the description. But this video is solely about what it's like having rode almost 1,000 miles on this exact scooter. I'm going to go through all the drawbacks I've went through, all the problems I've been through, how well it's put up with just natural causes, and at the end, if you stick around long enough, I'll explain to you why I might sell this. But you'll have to watch and find out why, because I'll explain that later in the video. Because I hate them. So to start things off, I do want to talk about one interesting thing. And it's that over the course of when the scooter first got released in late 2024, they have made tons of changes. So I'm going to show you all the visible changes that they've made from an older Segway ZT3 Pro to this late production 2024 version. And they've obviously made more improvements over 2025, but this one, there is definitely tons of noticeable things compared to a slightly older Segway ZT3 Pro that I just thought it'd be cool to share. So let's look at that. But to start things off, I'm going to start at what I feel is the most noticeable thing, and that is on the board. You'll see there is a Segway logo right there in red. Now, I know this is not really that big of a change, but before it was actually just gray. That matched the same color as the board, but this newer version has this red color. On the rear kind of ducktail of the scooter, you'll see it says extension port right there. On the original one, it said absolutely nothing. However, the reason that is there is if you want to buy like an external crate. Segway doesn't make one, but somewhere you can buy one that will allow you to put a crate where you can put groceries or stuff on it, and it connects right there. Another thing Segway changed was this little button column on the top of the scooter helm. And you'll see that the buttons on it are all this gray color. Originally, this little customizable button right here was red. They changed it to match the other colors of gray. And finally, the one I found most interesting was in the rear of the scooter. It was the rear shock. There used to be a little covering around it. They, for this one, got rid of that, and ever since have just kept it with the coil visible. But a newer version has a completely reworked suspension, so if you bought one, I don't know, even today and onward, the suspension is a lot smoother. On these older ones, it is a super stiff suspension, which makes going over super huge, really large bumps smooth, and it still feels sturdy. Now, it will still feel the same way, just a lot smoother. They've refined it so well that it really changes the whole way this feels. So I'll show you a video of me jumping on it just to show you how stiff it is, and then I'll share a video of the new suspension. So I'll get on. So I'm going to get on the scooter now. I'm not actually going to drive it. You'll see as I get on it, it kind of lowers. I am not light, but this is literally as much as it really will bend. It's not that much, but it does do an incredible job over bumps. However, if you were to buy one now, you would have a better experience with the smoothness. So I do find it odd why Segway changed the suspension, because I thought this one worked perfectly fine. When I would get on my friend's newer ZT3 Pro, the suspension was so soft that when I would get on it, the whole thing would lower. Literally, it would be like I got onto something and it lowered 2 inches. This one, when you get on it, it doesn't really move that much. It definitely moves maybe about a few centimeters, but I mean, compared to what it usually does on a friend's, it's interesting why they changed that. So I'd like to move on to durability. How well has it held up with me in the world? So obviously I can't control, rocks flying up and hitting it, but I can control how I use it, and I am going to say I don't beat it up. In as good as condition as I can. So basically anywhere below right there, it will have some scuff marks. Not a lot, but a decent amount. So if you're curious about how the stem has held up, there is one major thing that I would rather have this whole thing scratched up than have this in the condition it's in. And it's that over time, it has gotten so extremely loose. Like, I understand it's hard to pick this up on camera, but if you look at it, this whole thing is shaking, and the wheel isn't even shaking. So that's just the stem fluctuating, and I'll show you again from above. The scooter is not shaking, it is staying perfectly still. That is just the stem. So that does worry me just a little bit, because that's a lot of fluctuation for something that you kind of have to rely on to ride the scooter. And really, they make it extremely difficult to tighten any of these bolts. I actually have tightened every single one and have no idea how to tighten this one to keep it from flexing, because I believe there's a bolt inside of here that you have to tighten, and I just wasn't able to tighten it since I don't have the right screwdriver. But you can make sure you tighten all these ones holding up the little plates. They're just, you know, your normal Phillips screwdriver. So besides from the rattly and shakiness of the stem, it doesn't actually make any noise. Rattly was a poor word to choose, because it does make some noise, but it's quite silent compared to other scooters, especially since the suspension is so dampened to a way that it's still hard when you go over smaller bumps, but really does a good job on those larger bumps, and it doesn't really make as much as a rattle. If you take something like the Max G2, for example, with its smaller, more adaptive and better suspension, if you will, it does a little better job at getting those smaller bumps, which are more likely for you to come by. It makes a lot of sounds. Sometimes you'll hear bolt sounds, just sounds you often would not want to hear. So I would like to talk about how well it's dealt with scratches. I really don't think anything has gotten scratched right behind this front tire. If you look at it, there is absolutely no scratch marks. I mean, that's actually not too bad. So it does a really good job. However, you will see that on the little scuff plates on the side, if the camera can pick that up, those are not scratches, but they are not dirt. They are scuff marks from something hitting it in the past. And you even have some closer to the lettering. They are there. And there are some more running down the side here, and even some scuffing. It's hard to see it on camera, but some up here, which I find interesting to be up there, and then some obviously down here. But the fender, which is what I'm always most worried about, has actually stayed in pretty good condition. I don't see really anything damaging on it. And there is one thing though that I am really worried about on the scooter, which I'll get to in a second, but we'll just check the other side. And that will lead me to another thing, and it's these brakes. They fade out extremely quickly. They pretty much do nothing at this point. I solely rely on this rear motor. The front disc brake has some power to it, more than the rear brake. I can sometimes get it to work, but it basically does nothing. If I hold down both front and rear disc brake levers, it will pretty much take it a full 20 seconds to stop. It is a long time, and they're not that great. So that is one big problem. This side has a little less damage to it. Kickstand's a little scuffed up, but that's intentional. And then obviously the bottom of it's going to be scraped up on the kickstand, and of course the bottom of the scooter. I apologize, I'm filming in a bit of a low light, but it does get scratched up on the bottom, of course. And obviously the bottom is going to get scratched up. It's meant to get scratched up. However, because the scooter has such a tall height, you can see from where the wheel is to where the actual bottom of the scooter is. There is, I believe, 6.6 inches of ground clearance on this, which for a scooter is exceptional. I mean, it is really quite impressive. So the amount of times you might bottom out is really quite low. As you can see, that's pretty much all dirt, and I could tell you that I doubt there's very many scratches. And even moving down to the little arm or the axle for this rear shock, it does a good job. I can see there's tons of scratches actually right here. on this part of the suspension. But as you move further down to where the brake is, it kind of starts fading out. And then again, same on right there. There are some. But what Segway does really interesting is that these wires right there, and yes, I did not do this, those are zip ties. Segway uses zip ties to hold the wires going to the motor up, and there's even more right there, which is interesting. You know, you'd think for a scooter like this it might be, you know, a little more high-end, but I guess not. However, it has stayed in pretty solid condition down here. Even the stickers on it are held up really well. So I would like to get to the brakes and the tires. So my final two big complaints are the disc brakes. Segway actually used to do some pretty good brakes. For example, my P65, which has a similar looking disc brake. However, it has held up really well and works phenomenally well. These look literally identical. However, they don't hold up very well, which is disappointing. The front one works fine, and so does the back one, but compared to what they did when, you know, fresh out of the box, it's just, it feels almost dangerous. And I guess that's fine. You have, you know, dual and the rear electric motor acts as a brake, but it's just not good. You know, I enjoy using actual disc brakes, and compared to what they put on the GT3 Pro and the GT3, they should be putting some better ones on this, especially for an off-roading kick scooter, which I guess is now just called an all-road scooter. And then finally, it's the tires. They look cool, the big 11-inch tubeless off-road tires, but they're not cool. They work terribly. Well, I kind of lied. They don't do very well in snow. Ironically, they don't do very good off-road. I would say that the tires on the Max G2 and Max G30P do better, and the best ones are these all-season tires that are fitted onto the P65. Yes, you probably will ride this mostly on asphalt, which is where they obviously work best, but they're just not really that good. The front one is in decent condition. It's probably just about the same as you get it out of the box, but it's the back tire that's really worn down. Again, this is hard to see, but when you're in person, compared to the front tire, it just is sad. So you can see that right there, that is the current tread level on the tire. It is extremely worn down, and the camera does actually make it look better than what it actually is, but in person, they are extremely worn down. And yeah, that makes sense for an all-terrain tire, but for something with as low power as this, it's a lot of power, but it shouldn't do this to these tires over the time that I've had it. They just get really low, and ironically, I think I'm gonna have to replace it soon, which is not good. These tires do cost a lot. Link them in the description to show you, but they wear out super quickly. So my main two issues with the scooter are the brakes fade quickly, and the tires, well, they just become bald really quickly. Specifically, the rear tire, front tire actually does fine. And then all the other little minor complaints aren't terrible. Besides from the stem shaking, that's pretty bad. But now we're gonna go and ride it so I can explain to you what it's like driving it compared to what it was like driving it out of the box. So that was all the information I have basically over having it over a year. It's held up fine. I mean, compared to my other scooters, it looks brand new still if I cleaned it. But this one, it's held up pretty well. I'm only disappointed about the stem shaking. But what is it like driving it? Is it the same? And do I actually like it? Do I actually enjoy driving it? No. But basically, I'm going to be testing how the 0 to 25 mile per hour tests are and comparing it to my last ones, as well as a brake test, and I'll just talk about if it feels different at all. So now that we're out here riding the scooter, I'm going to test pretty much two big things. The performance of it to see if it's similar to what it was when I first got it, and the braking as well. So I mentioned the brakes weren't doing as well as they had done in the past. This time I'm going to do a full brake, literally pull both handles all the way down. The last time I tried my best not to skid the tire. This time I'm going to literally just pull them as hard as I can because, well, I'm not really worried about the tire now. But looking at it now, every electrical part of it works still. We'll go ahead and turn the hazards on. So both turn indicators work, front headlight works well. The Segway X light works perfectly fine, all 4 lights illuminated, and of course the rear tail light is on. So all the electrical is working just fine. The little fold is still nice and sturdy. So all that's fine. So let's just go get into performance. The issue that occurs that I, have found while riding is that compared to other scooters, it's actually not very good at keeping stuff away from hitting you. So you'll see on the front here, I'll do my best to show you. When I'm riding on something that I can pick up on material, it will actually spray up and hit me. So we'll go through. You can't really see it now, but when I go through here, you'll see it'll start picking stuff up. And you can kind of see it spraying all over the place. Not very good test, as this stuff isn't that sticky right now, but it does pick up a lot, and I have got some pretty dirty because of it. Yeah. That's, see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it kicking up all right here, and it gets up over to here, and we'll get on the bottom of your legs. I lost 1 bar, which is kind of crazy. So we're gonna do a hill test really quickly, around 90%. Pretty solid. What is that? 25, okay. I do think the last time it did a little better of a job getting back up to 25. So I'm not testing it in the exact same spot as last time, but I found a nice long road that I'm going to do this. So hold it down, put it into boost. All right, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I got air there. Okay, that time wasn't that good. The front wheel lifted up, causing me to lose some time. All right, let's try this one more time. 3, 2, 1, go. It turns off right at 22, which was happening last time. There we go, 25. And then we'll go ahead and do a brake test in 3, 2, 1. So I started right about there, and not bad. Took me kind of a while, but it wasn't too bad. So this is the road I did it on last time. Nice, fresh piece of asphalt. Not very fresh, but tires are about as warm as I can get them on a day like today. So boost, we'll try it 1 time without boost, and then 1 time with boost. So this is going to be our try without boost. So 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, do the boost mode launch. It does feel a little slower. Obviously this tire is a little more worn down, but honestly I think that would actually make the performance better since there's less of this thick tread and just more of a bald tire. So it can grip the road better since there's no tread trying to give it grip, but it will have better grip since it's more bald-ish. It'll still have good tread. So let's just do this. All right, here we go, once and for all, to see if it really has gotten slower over time. Boost is initiating. 3, 2, 1. Oh, this thing still rockets off. Stopped at 22. Let's see if I can make it to 25. And we will do the brake test at the same spot as well. All right, we're gonna get up to 25 here. Same spot as last time. 25, slightly uphill. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a rough estimate. 3, 17, 22. Roughly 24 feet to stop from 25. You can see the skid mark from the rear tire. I'm not sure if I measured it the last time with my very trusty feet, which are exactly 12 inches, so they are exactly a foot. So yeah, I think that did pretty solid. 20 feet is what I think I said. So let's go back and analyze how the performance has changed over time, and really if there's a difference, or is there, because I don't know, I don't remember the past numbers. Alright, so right behind me is the past video that I took 10 months ago, so practically a year ago, when I first reviewed the ZT3 Pro. And then over here I have the times of which we just achieved, and I have to say it's pretty disappointing. So I'm going to just show you the best time we got. So the quickest time in the video was 4.52 seconds, which was insane. That's very quick. But unfortunately, which you guys will see, what we just did in this video was not as quick. I got 7 seconds. That is a big difference. I mean, a big difference. And if we go back and analyze the brake test, the old video,
20 feet.
20 feet of stopping, and I barely pulled the levers down. In this video you're watching right now, let's go back and look, 24 feet. So the brakes have gotten worse, and it's gotten slower. And with that, shows that over time, the price decreases, the total performance decreases, and just about every single aspect of the scooter decreases. And so with that, I think I would have never bought this scooter. But I guess it's the same with every scooter. Make your decision, buy it, don't buy it. It's a great scooter, and it can be seen as not a great scooter. I personally really enjoy it though. I'm sure once it warms up again, it'll be performing good. But either way, it should have done a little better. If you enjoyed this video, maybe consider subscribing. It looks cool when I look at my channel and show my friends, so I enjoy that aspect of it. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified every time I upload another video. And so, hey, do me a favor and do your favor, but do whatever you want, actually. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!